Welcome back to normal baseball. The Yankees have finally traded for Juan Soto, and the winter meetings have come and gone. We saw some signings. Now we have some rumors. And, of course, the marquee free agent in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, still has not signed anywhere. We're going to talk about all of that and a lot more on this episode. Welcome back to normal baseball. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And it was the first thing I said. Juan Soto is a New York Yankee, Lewis.
Yes, he is. I cannot believe it. Good on the Yankees for getting it done. It's a deal that obviously the Yankees needed to get done, and the fact that they finally got it done is good on them. Let's see if they choose to maybe try to extend him or whatever. The trade, honestly, not too bad. You want to go over that really quick?
Yeah, so the Juan Soto trade in full, in its full glory, it was the Yankees received Juan Soto and Trent Grisham, two outfielders, obviously, and the Padres received starting pitcher / relief pitcher Michael King, starting pitcher Drew Thorpe, pitcher Johnny Brito, pitcher Randy Vasquez, and catcher Kyle Higashioka. Honestly, probably the craziest part of this trade, lifelong Yankee, Kyle Higashioka, big fan guy too, is a Padre now. But obviously, the Yankees, throughout these trade talks, I think this trade has been looming or was looming for multiple weeks at this point. At the point where it was made official, it was looming for a while. And the biggest part was that the Yankees did not want to give up both Michael King and Drew Thorpe. Drew Thorpe is the Yankees, or was the Yankees' top pitching prospect. And he just had a really good year in the minor leagues. He was expected to maybe come up next year. And then Michael King was a reliever, and just last year they converted him to a starting pitcher towards the end of the season, and he was absolutely dominant when he was starting. So they didn't want to give up both of those guys, but it seemed like the Padres were very clear on they wanted both if this deal was going to go through, and the Yankees folded. They caved in, and they pulled the trigger, and Juan Soto is a New York Yankee now.
Yeah, you kind of have to. Not only do you get one of the top 5 hitters in baseball if you're the New York Yankees to pair him next to Aaron Judge, and hopefully if Giancarlo Stanton and Gleyber Torres can all either continue their production or definitely become a lot more productive, you're talking about one of the best offenses in baseball this upcoming season. But a big part of the reason why the Yankees wanted to do this now, and you may say, oh, it's an overpay for the last year of arbitration for a guy like Soto, who's projected to get $450 million this upcoming offseason, well, the next offseason, I should say, is to have a year-long period of negotiating with him, as well as a year-long period of him playing in your organization and seeing, honestly, what it's all about and why the New York Yankees are the New York Yankees. Big reason as to why the Yankees made this trade, in my opinion, because hey, if you can sign him in the season, not even let him hit the open market, great trade. Great trade.
Yeah, so my main thing is the Yankees, you mentioned extending him, signing him during the season. That's extending him. Not going to happen. Juan Soto is a client of Scott Boras. Scott Boras clients notoriously or infamously do not sign extensions. They always head to free agency. You also have to remember Juan Soto declined one of the biggest extensions in history from the Nationals a couple of years ago because he wanted to hit free agency. So I think at this point, they'd have to offer him $500 million for like 10, 11, or 11, 12 years for him to take an extension, which I just don't think they're going to do. So I think it's more of towards what you said, just show him the culture in New York, show him what it's like to be a New York Yankee for this season, and then take that into the offseason next year and try to sign him from there. But I don't think that's the only way that this trade could be made worth it for the Yankees. The other way this trade would be worth it for the Yankees is if they went on to win a World Series this season or in 2024. If they won the 2024 World Series and Juan Soto's a free agent and leaves, they still got their goal. I'm sure Juan Soto would be a big part of that if they were to win the World Series. So that would be a success.
For sure.
If neither one of those things happened, then this trade was a huge failure for the Yankees. But again, that's something we won't know for a while. And right now, I think at the time, it seems like a really good trade. I mean, Juan Soto being paired in the same lineup as Aaron Judge. Are you kidding me? Those are two of like the top five dare
hitters.
I say, top 3 hitters in baseball. So, if you're the Yankees, pulling the trigger was definitely a move that had to come, especially when you got this close to getting him and just how heavily into talks you were for that long with the Padres. We knew it was coming, and just to see Juan Soto and Aaron Judge in the same lineup together, that's dangerous.
Fever dream. Absolute fever dream if you are a Yankees fan, because it's not often that you see this happen, especially on one of the biggest stages in baseball. Good for them. The Yankees also did make another trade to acquire another outfielder, left-handed hitting outfielder, Alex Verdugo from the Boston Red Sox, for pitchers Richard Fitz, Nicholas Judice. Is that how you pronounce it?
Judice.
Judice.
I'm not 100% sure.
And Greg Weissert. Another okay deal. I'm not going to complain too much. A lefty outfielder is what the Yankees wanted to have this offseason,
Right.
and they went out and got 2 of the more stable guys. Definitely Juan Soto being a superstar, but Alex Verdugo, if his numbers could stay somewhat consistent throughout the year, it'd be a massive improvement compared to what they had in left field last year for the Yankees.
I think at the time, I was thinking, okay, the Yankees just traded for Verdugo. There's their left-handed outfielder that they're looking for. And they were just going to stop there. I thought that meant, maybe the Juan Soto deal isn't
too much
going through anymore. Or not necessarily isn't going through, but the talks have stopped. And they said, just forget it. We'll go out and get Alex Verdugo instead. That was not the case. I mean, I know there were some Yankee fans I saw that thought that they were going to use Verdugo to get Soto.
I thought that.
I did not think that from the beginning. I said that's not it. They tried to get Verdugo at the trade deadline last year, if you remember.
Yeah.
But the Red Sox were asking for Gleyber Torres, and they were like, we are just simply not giving up Gleyber Torres. So they put together a different deal to get Verdugo. Verdugo was a guy that they wanted, and they wound up getting him. I knew they weren't just going to get rid of him right away. So I didn't see that as a possibility for this to happen. But I think, Verdugo's a big plus for this team. You look at some of the guys they had in left field last season, while they may have played good at times, but, I mean, Franchy Cordero, you had Billy McKinney, Jake Bowers. They had their moments, but Verdugo's a guy who he hit, 37 doubles last year, played 142 games, had an 100 OPS plus. He was maybe his OPS was league average, but 37 doubles.
Yeah,
that Yankees team needed someone like that this season who would just get on base.
So I will say, just to cut you off here,
yeah, go for it.
The big thing with the Yankees in this offseason so far has been addressing the biggest issue that we've seen out of their offense of it's very boom or bust. You have Aaron Judge, you have Anthony Rizzo, you have Giancarlo Stanton. Those 3 guys alone are very much homer, strikeout, or walk. Very 3 outcome-y. The fact that Alex Verdugo and Juan Soto are in this lineup, 2 guys who can put the bat on the ball to, just move the chains, especially Soto. He will take his walks. Everyone knows that. Sometimes going 90 feet is a lot more valuable than just swinging for the fences. We saw Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs just 2 years ago. But if you're in the Yankees organization, you have to know that that's not possible for a player to do every year. So the fact that they're addressing some of the issues and just getting bat to ball guys is very, very valuable in my eyes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was no secret that the Yankees hitting maybe underperformed a little bit last season too. So if they can not underperform next season, and on top of that have Juan Soto and Alex Verdugo in their lineup getting on base as much as possible, I mean, that's incredible.
That's a big value bet.
I did see something from Codify Baseball on X that no Yankee since Mickey Mantle in 1957 has walked 130 or more times in a season. Juan Soto has done it 3 years in a row now. So you talked about, that 90 feet does mean a lot at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That 90 feet means a lot. And when you get a guy like Juan Soto who can not only hit 35 to 40 homers every season and 35 to 40 doubles every season, but he's also going to have 130 to 145 walks in a season. He just cannot stop getting on base. When he gets up there, I would say one of 2 times he's going to get on base, which is absolutely incredible.
Not only that, but the fact that Juan Soto is going to get on base a lot for the Yankees is going to massively benefit the rest of their lineup. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I will tell you from the Yankee games that I watched last year, their younger guys performed a little bit better when they had a guy on base. It's just that's what it felt like when you did the eye test. Of course, Aaron Judge was still going to be Aaron Judge. Gleyber Torres last season was still going to be Gleyber Torres. But like Anthony Volpe and towards like the middle of the season, Oswaldo Cabrera, when he kind of turned it around a little bit, those 2 guys were very, very much built on what happened before I got to the plate. Like it felt like they had a negative attitude if they were going up to the plate right after the person batting in front of them struck out. So having a guy on base, I think, should really help the rest of this lineup, which I really think is a good positive if you're a Yankee fan.
Yeah, you talked about the rest of this lineup. The Yankees lineup currently, as it stands right now, heading into 2024, the order may vary here, but at second base, you have Gleyber Torres. In left field, you have Juan Soto. In center field, you have Aaron Judge. First base, you have Anthony Rizzo. DHing, Giancarlo Stanton. Third base, DJ LeMahieu. Right field, Alex Verdugo. Shortstop, Anthony Volpe getting another shot. And at catcher, definitely going to be a platoon of Austin Wells and Jose Trevino. If Wells just does break out and becomes an absolute star, I'm sure he will be starting a lot more. That's a pretty dangerous lineup when they're all performing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
As long as none of them underperform to the max, you're sitting pretty if you're the Yankees.
Yeah, if you can get DJ LeMahieu just back to that like strict contact bat that we saw him be in 2021, 2020 through 2022. That like 3-year span where he was just like the leadoff guy, contact guy, hit really well. And if you can get Giancarlo Stanton just back to like, I don't know, like a 240 hitter, like a 240, 250 hitter, then if you're the Yankees, you're sitting pretty and saying, hey, our young guys are going to progress, our veterans are going to step up to the plate, and we're going to take a shot at the title right now. That's what you have to do.
Not to mention, they gave up a lot of pitching in both of these deals, in the Red Sox deal for Verdugo and for the Padres for Soto. They gave up a lot of pitching. Richard Fitz, they gave him to the Red Sox. He was the Eastern League Pitcher of the Year in Double-A, so he had himself a hell of a year. 3.54 ERA, 27 games started. So Red Sox got a pretty good potentially pretty good pitcher there. Weissert was a major league guy. He showed some good stuff. Michael King, we talked about. Drew Thorpe, we talked about. Johnny Brito and Randy Vasquez both played in major league games this year. Looked pretty decent while doing so. So they gave up a lot of pitching. But the thing is with the Yankees is that last season they had a top 5 pitching staff in baseball anyway.
Headed by Garrett Cole and co-signed by one of the worst pitchers in baseball in Carlos Rodon. So if Rodon can step back up to the plate, then it makes complete sense to get rid of a bunch of pitching.
Right. Not to mention that even if you don't even look at Rodon, just look at the names that they've given up in this trade. They've given up one major league guy in terms of, definite major league roster was going to be on the opening day roster next season.
Michael King, right?
One guy in Michael King.
Everything else is a wild card.
Right. Well, yeah, everything else is technically, yes, a wild card. So you still have that rotation. Garrett Cole, like you said, Carlos Rodon. If Carlos Rodon is on next year, dangerous. But again, we said the same thing going into last year, so we don't really know, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Schmidt, he was I think one of the more underrated. His numbers didn't really reflect how he started to pitch towards the end of the season. Nestor Cortez healthy
he's
Nestor
good.
Cortez should be very good for the Yankees. And that 5th spot really isn't secured by anyone yet. So we'll see what happens there. That is a matter of if they will sign another guy, which
That
could it be Yoshinobu Yamamoto?
It could be. It very much could be.
I mean, the Yankees apparently are one of 2 teams who are heavily in on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, top free agent starting pitcher this offseason from Japan. The other team, the New York Mets. So this is our first bidding war we've seen from the Yankees and Mets since Steve Cohen took over or bought the Mets. Lewis, how do you see this bidding war for Yoshinobu Yamamoto playing out?
So, going into this offseason, I think you and I were both in agreement that Yamamoto could get a $200 to $250 million contract. However, if it's going to be the 2 juggernauts of baseball in the Yankees and the Mets that come down to be the finalists, then I'm going to be honest, I think we're talking about a guy who could get a $300 million contract more than likely from the Mets because, yes, they have Kodai Senga and the Mets can afford to, open their wallet, but at what time does Cohen actually want to open his wallet? That's a big question. However, if you're Yamamoto, he has gone on record saying, one, he likes the idea of playing on the biggest stage, playing for the Yankees, wearing the pinstripes and all that, as well as the fact the Yankees owner, Hal Steinbrenner, has gone out there and said, hey, we're done messing around. I'm comfortable with going over that $300 million luxury tax.
Yeah.
Signing Yamamoto would definitely put them over.
For sure.
So, right now I think they're sitting at 240, I think. Something like that, close to it maybe, or 250. Signing Yamamoto should put them into that $300 million range. $278 million estimated on the opening day roster right now. Signing Yamamoto should put them over that, and I'm all there for it. Imagine having a rotation that says Garrett Cole, Yamamoto, and Rodon and Nestor, who are both should be completely healthy and ready to go. You're walking into a death trap if you go to play the Yankees at that point.
Yeah, just looking at that top 3, Rodon, Cole, Rodon, and Yamamoto. Well, more like Cole, Yamamoto, Rodon, probably.
Yes.
Dangerous, especially if we see Yamamoto come over to the U.S., and obviously we know there's some adjustment period, but if he does something like Kodai Senga did. Kodai Senga came over, and he's just been dominant. I think he should have been top 3 in the NL Cy Young voting this year. I know he wasn't, but he should have been.
So
if Yamamoto can come over and be better than what Kodai Senga was, he's worth every single dime that either the Mets or the Yankees spend for him. Obviously, for the Mets, there's that added incentive of Yamamoto. It has come out that he wants to play on a team that has another Japanese player. And obviously, if he went to the Mets, he would be the 1 and 2 with another Japanese player, Kodai Senga. Yankees don't really have another Japanese player right now. They had Tanaka in the past. They had Matsui. They had Ichiro. They had Ching-Meng Wang. So there is history there. And at the end of the day, it is just a matter of which New York team he'd rather play for, because I think both are going to be throwing a lot of money at him, and I don't think the money would be the issue at that point.
To anybody who also says that, Cohen said that he wants to compete in 2025, there's no reason for him to sign a big free...
What are you doing over there?
I don't know. Hang on.
Just keep...
For anyone who's saying that there's no reason for Cohen to spend, even though it is not their full year to compete, they want to compete in 2025. You sign You sign Kodai Senga long term, yes. But if you sign Yamamoto to a long term deal too, guess what? You're going to have him in 2025. And if that is the rotation that you're putting out there of a Senga Yamamoto rotation, it's going to do wonders. Absolute wonders. And I'm there for it. I think Yamamoto is going to adjust better to the MLB than Senga has so far. I think he'll do better than any other Japanese pitcher that we've seen. I just want him in the United States so that way when he is playing at a ballpark near me, I can go watch it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think seeing this guy in person is it's going to be a fun time. The stuff he did in Japan was absolutely phenomenal, and yeah, I'm excited for some Yamamoto in my life. He is a free agent. I think his window closes in probably around 20 days now, maybe 28 days, something like that. But he's not the only big free agent that's left out on the market right now. Lewis, care to name a couple other big free agents left on the market?
A couple of other free agents left on the market. I mean, obviously you have a guy like Shohei Ohtani, but the big three that I really wanted to talk about today are Cody Bellinger, Marcus Stroman, and Josh Hader. And you may be asking in your head right now, or wondering if you're listening right now, saying, why those three in specific? I think these three guys could sign to the same team and jolt them into contention, like very, very fast. Obviously, a hefty price point because you are talking about Bellinger and Hader. Hader being one of the best closers in baseball, and Cody Bellinger being that guy who looks like, honestly, he's back to that, I almost said Cy Young, that MVP sort of level if he can continue to progress in the right direction and he's young enough, as well as Marcus Stroman, who's a very good pitcher. You have to look at these three and say, I kind of wish that they got to the same team. Like, imagine Stroman going 7 no-hit innings or 7 shutout innings. Bellinger hits a go-ahead home run, and then Hader comes in to close the door. I'm there for it. I could definitely see a world where a team like the Cubs, if they miss out on Ohtani, say, let's bring back Bellinger and Stroman, and let's go get a Hader for the back end of our bullpen, and we're kind of sitting pretty, and I would agree with them. It is a very interesting thought in my head. It popped into my head literally less than 24 hours ago, and I really like the idea of it because I don't think they're going to completely break the bank like a Shohei Ohtani would.
So here's my question then. Say Stroman and Bellinger were to go back to the Cubs.
Okay.
I don't think the Cubs would need Hader. Because right now the Cubs closer is Albert Azalea. The guy was lights out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely lights out. I don't know for the Cubs if it's worth it to really spend on Hader. In terms of just all three of them being free agents, I think those might be the three biggest free agents aside from Ohtani and Yamamoto. You have the
Matt Chapman.
Well, I don't think Matt Chapman's on any of their levels right now. Matt Chapman's a very hit or miss kind of guy. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think those are probably three of the already in MLB, not Shohei Ohtani, biggest three free agents. I'm excited to see where they go. I mean, Bellinger, I feel like there haven't been many rumors about Bellinger recently. Last we kind of saw was that he wanted $250 million from a team, which you can only assume that means he wants a 10-year contract. So, which team will want to pay him that? We don't know necessarily.
I cannot think of one off the top of my head,
Right.
I just don't know a team that needs Cody Bellinger that much that they're willing to give him a 10-year deal at
because there really isn't.
Year.
There really isn't a team that needs him that much.
No, I mean, my only thought was the Yankees prior to them trading for Juan Soto and Alex Verdugo. But now that they have him, I mean, what, is Cohen just supposed to open his wallet and pay anybody? Like, no, that's not how the Mets are going to go about this. I think Bellinger should definitely, him and Boris should take a step back and be like, hey, we know we're kind of not worth this. Why are we doing this? Let's find the best fit for me, and I want to go win a title.
It's not that he's not worth it. He might be worth it, but I just don't know what team would want to give him that long of a contract.
Well, what team is taking the risk on 1 year of success after 3 years of
downhill
slope?
That's what I'm saying, but I'm not saying he's not necessarily worth it because he could very well be worth it.
No, yeah,
I think
you're right about
if
that.
he plays the way he played last year for the next 10 years, well worth it. Dare I say even underpaid at that point. Yeah. So, I don't know. It depends.
Another guy, just to throw his name out there, that we don't know what his value genuinely could be, is Rhys Hoskins. I did want to touch on him because he is being linked to the Cubs right now. I just feel bad for Rhys Hoskins because he missed out on the last year of his arbitration with the Phillies due to a torn ACL, and now he's at the free agent market where a lot of teams are very reluctant to sign him. If I'm a team that needs a first baseman, like looking at the Padres maybe or the Cubs, those two teams in specific, I'm saying, like, hey, I want to take my chances on this guy because Rhys Hoskins, when he is swinging the bat well, not only is he one of the most entertaining players in all of baseball, but he can be a very, very good hitter on a championship level team. We saw it in 2022 when the Phillies made the World Series. Rhys Hoskins' bat was a big reason why they made it a long, long way.
Yeah, you're right.
Hope he finds a home somewhere. He deserves it.
Well, he definitely will find a home. I can guarantee you that. If some of the guys who are getting signed right now are finding homes, I'm sure Rhys Hoskins can do the same. It's just a matter of where. A couple other big free agents while we're throwing out names. Clayton Kershaw's still out there.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I'm sure
how out there.
I'm sure he'll head back to the Dodgers. Hyun-Jin Ryu, he just came back from, I believe it was Tommy John. Towards the latter end of the 2023 season. You got Justin Turner. Justin Turner's a pretty big one. He had a really, really good season with the Red Sox. Proved that he could still get it done. Very underrated season. You got Teoscar Hernandez. Was not extended the qualifying offer from the Mariners.
For some reason.
For whatever reason. Matt Chapman, we mentioned him as well. Jorge Soler hits absolute bombs.
Yeah, opted out of his contract with the Miami Marlins. I think because he just wants a longer-term deal. Jordan Montgomery,
I would say, is a big one. Yeah, postseason master Jordan Montgomery. Where he will go, I'm not really sure either. Gio Urshela, I think, is honestly an underrated one. Gio Urshela got injured at the beginning of last season.
Fractured pelvis, I believe.
Yeah, but before then, it seemed like he was going to be a 300 type hitter with like an 850 OPS. Like, it seemed like he was about to have a breakout season, and he got an injury and was out for the rest of the year. Absolutely devastating. So I'd love to see him get another shot somewhere. Seth Lugo's another good one. And then that's really all I got. Dick Mountain, too. Rich Hill.
God bless him.
Ducks legend.
Dutch legend.
And yeah, those are some of the bigger name free agents that are still out there right now.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. But what we do know is that Eduardo Rodriguez signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks. The NL champs bolstered their rotation. Erod, 4 years, $80 million with a $19 million vesting option for a fifth year. 2023. Erod was injured for a little bit, but he still did start 26 games, and when he was starting, when he was healthy, he was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. He had a 3.30 ERA, 152 and 2/3 innings pitched, 143 strikeouts. Diamondbacks rotation is looking pretty good with the addition of Eduardo Rodriguez. You got Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, and Ryan Nelson. Lewis, I know you love this move. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling.
Love it. I will say that bolstering the rotation of a team that just made the World Series on the back of hot bats is a great, great move if you're the Diamondbacks, especially considering that, hey, you only got him at $20 million a year with the last year could only be $19 million. I think it's a very good deal. It's a good deal for Eduardo Rodriguez, who, by the way, gets that same modified no-trade clause that he had that prevented him from getting traded to the Dodgers last season at the trade deadline. Same clause. Don't know why he doesn't like L.A. Might have a warrant out in Orange County. Who knows?
Whoa.
But
whoa,
I will say I am interested to see how this rotation holds up for this upcoming season, considering that we know in that division in the National League West, the Padres can mash if they're on. You know, even without Juan Soto, who cares? The Dodgers will mash. They're regular season merchants, depending on what the Giants do. You know,
regular season merchants.
Who they might sign. You could be talking about them being a scary team lineup wise. How are these guys, how are the Diamondbacks going to really jump through these hoops that is the NL West? And I think they're going to succeed at it no matter which way they go about it.
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt being the NL champions, making it to a World Series, and then adding arguably a top 10 pitcher in baseball last season. You know, how could you possibly argue that that's a bad thing?
Yeah, on top of the other players that they got, the other player they got, Eugenio Suarez, like adding into that lineup too. Their team seems to look a lot better than I anticipated, than anyone really anticipated. It's just a good sign. Good sign if you are the Diamondbacks to say, hey, we just missed winning the World Series. Like, we made it there, but we couldn't finish off the job. And we're not going to take that as a W. You know, we want to raise that trophy. Why stop now? Let's go out there and get a few more guys to really bolster up not only our offense, but now bolstering up our rotation in a big way with Erod, who I feel like we've said this a lot this episode, but when he's on, he's really on and really freaking good. So I'm in for that. Eduardo Rodriguez, welcome to the Snakes.
Yeah, big Snakes guy you are.
Big Snakes. You know me.
And in addition, the deal also includes the same 10-team no-trade clause that he had on his Tigers contract, which was also the same 10-team no-trade clause that allowed him to block the trade to the Dodgers from going through.
I just said this.
Was supposed to go through last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible.
Good for him. Good for
smart man. Smart man. That no-trade clause.
I want to know
underrated.
Why does he not
want to go somewhere? If he doesn't want to go somewhere, he doesn't want to go somewhere.
Do you think he would accept a trade to the Angels?
I don't know. I don't care. That's up to him. That's not for me to decide.
I mean, yes, it's not for you to decide, but I don't know.
Why
I'm
the
curious.
Angels?
Well, because it's like in Los Angeles too. Does he just not like LA, or does he not like the Dodgers? Which is it? Who knows?
Maybe it's neither. Maybe it's just he just didn't want to get traded.
Maybe.
Having the no trade clause, it's always a good thing for a player to have.
Pretty fun.
They're feeling good afterwards, knowing their own fate. Another pitcher who got picked up was Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah,
Craig Kimbrell is an Oriole, a Baltimore Oriole, which, you know, it could come as a surprise to you. It's certainly, I wouldn't say it came as a surprise to me, but it was one of those, you know, maybe at the beginning of the offseason, I really wasn't thinking about it all that much. I wasn't like, oh, yeah, Craig Kimbrell, future Oriole, you know what I mean? But now that it happened, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. 1 year, $13 million for Craig Kimbrell. He is taking the spot of Felix Bautista, who had Tommy John surgery and will miss the entire 2024 season. My question for you is, do you think Craig Kimbrell, because we're unsure of this at the moment, we haven't heard there's no definitive, obviously, yet, will Craig Kimbrell take that closer role immediately, or will he serve as the setup man for Yennier Cano? Yennier Cano was the setup man for Felix Bautista, started closing games when Felix Bautista got injured. So what will Craig Kimbrell's role be in this Orioles bullpen?
I hate to burst your bubble, but it actually was confirmed by their GM that Craig Kimbrell will be the closer, taking over the Mountain Felix Bautista's role while he does recover from Tommy John surgery. And having Yennier Cano be that eighth inning guy, I think is still a very good option, because the Orioles now have the ability, which they have not had in a while, is they can be winning and feel comfortable with their lead to, hey, Kimbrell's gone 5 out of the last 7 games that we've played. Let's leave Cano out there for another inning. Like, they have that flexibility and that ability to even say, hey, if Cano does give up the lead and the other team winds up tying it, our lineup is pretty damn good. How long can that possibly last? Good spot if you're the Orioles, and I do think that putting Kimbrell in as the closer is the right move. Leave Yennier Cano where he is best, and that is being the setup man in that 8th inning. Good for the Orioles. I'm excited to see Kimbrell donning his 8th uniform in the major leagues. Very good guy for, what's that game called?
I don't know. I still think
the grid.
I still think regardless of if they said he's definitely going to be the closer, I think there is a world where he struggles a little bit and they're going to have to move him to be the setup guy rather than the closer. You know, I think Felix Bautista, before he got injured, was the most
electrifying,
guaranteed closer in baseball, in the sense of you knew he was coming in. You just had to make it to the 8th inning if you're the Orioles. You just had to go through 7 with the lead, and you know Yennier Cano and Felix Bautista are coming in and closing out the games.
And they're both pretty damn good.
Now I think it's more of you got to make it to the 7th inning, and then you know you're going to have a scoreless 8th inning because Yennier Cano. But I don't see Craig Kimbrell as a guaranteed get you through the ninth inning, close the game out type of guy. I just don't. I'm not discrediting anything he's done in his career, but I think at this point in his career, he's just not that kind of lights out anymore. So I think if you're the Orioles, I get that the GM did say it, but I still think that they should be taking into consideration. I'd rather have the guaranteed win in the ninth inning than have the guaranteed scoreless eighth inning and not the guaranteed win in the ninth inning. So, I don't know. That's just the way I see it.
I don't know.
I think that it could change. We could see spring training determine something else, or the beginning of the season, depending on how each player is playing, determine something else.
Is it crazy to say that there is also a world where the Orioles do just somehow randomly have another guy sitting in AAA or a guy in their bullpen currently who has not stepped up to the plate step up and become a closer this season? I think that's a very real possibility. I don't want to count that out entirely, because if Kimbrell does really struggle like the way that he did last year towards, what was it, like the end of the season and into the playoffs, if he really struggles again and has to forfeit that closer role, which I think that they'll have a very, very long leash with him this season, but if it does wind up that, hey, you're not that guy anymore, pal, like take a seat and we're going to let this other guy step up to the plate, I do think there's a world where that does happen.
I would say no. I think that guy would be Yennier Cano, regardless of how you look at it. I think if there's a random guy that comes from their minors and just dominates, it's hard to just be placed into the closer role as soon as you get there. So I just don't see that happening. No.
All right. Well, only time will tell.
I think it's Yennier Cano is most certainly the backup plan to Kimbrell.
Okay. Hey, I'll get behind it. I like the idea of Yennier Cano closing out games. Will help me in fantasy next year. And yes, I will be drafting Yennier Cano.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's really no reason not to.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
All right.
I'm excited.
Well, we have one more kind of big free agent signing. I mean, not
it's
a
big.
pitcher. No, it's not a pitcher, but it's still a pretty big signing. It is Yennier Candelario signing with the Cincinnati Reds, another infielder in that big Red stable of infielders. 3-year, $45 million contract with the club option for a fourth year worth another $15 million. The Reds now have an infield problem. The Reds have 6 plausible infielders that could start every single game. They have Spencer Steer, Matt McLain, Jonathan India, Novelli Marte, Ellie De La Cruz, and Christian Encarnacion Strand.
Mm-hmm.
That is 6 infielders that could start any single game. 6 infielders, we'll put it this way, that could start on opening day.
Yeah.
One of them will not be starting because one of them will probably be DHing, which means one of them will not be starting. Which one will that be? And could we possibly see them move one of these infielders? And if so, who? And I think I know what you're going to say.
In all honesty, I think their infield should be set with first baseman Spencer Steer or Yennier Candelario. You know, we'll say Candelario just for the sake of the argument.
They just got him.
Yeah.
I think third base.
Oh, I'm saying first base for him.
No, Spencer Steer's going to be playing first.
Okay, so
100%.
then Spencer Steer at first, because I had Novelli Marte playing third.
Right, but see, here's where the issue comes, because I think Spencer Steer is their first baseman no matter what.
I think
Spencer Steer is a first baseman.
Well, but he also played the outfield last season.
Yeah, but it's just
do you try to hide him away in left field at Great American? That's not Great American.
No, it's Reds ballpark. Just keep going.
But anyways, the way that I see it is Candelario at first, second base I have Matt McLain, pretty basic there. Ellie De La Cruz at short again.
No, it is Great American.
It is? Okay, yeah. Shortstop, Ellie De La Cruz, basic. I really hope he can be consistent this season. Third base, I have Novelli Marte with Christian Encarnacion Strand DHing, which means that process of elimination, Jonathan India is the odd man out. And if you're the Reds, you look to move the former Rookie of the Year right now because not only is his value still at an all-time high, you simply don't want to have Jonathan India sitting on your bench. I don't want to say wasting away, but let's be real, if he's not going to start every day, he is kind of wasting away. Is that crazy to say?
Well, if you're not using him, he's just sitting there.
When he can be a very, very good ball player. Last year, he dealt with a few injuries that kept him off the field for some time, which is why now we're talking about an infield problem with the Reds. I don't know. I think Jonathan India should get moved. Then it becomes a question of where. Do the Mariners come in and say, hey, we've made plenty of trades with you before. We need a second baseman or whatever. Or do the Red Sox say, let's try to speed up this rebuild or retooling process? Do the Giants say, hey, we might have signed a couple of free agents. Jonathan India would fit well with the rest of our payroll situation. Like, there's so many question marks around the Reds, and I'm excited to see what the solution is.
See, the thing is here, too, is that there is a world where they do keep everyone. If Spencer Steer does play left field next season. Mm-hmm. The only issue is then you have a guy like Jake Fraley just sitting on the bench. So no matter what way I think the Reds go about this, you're always looking at a young guy just sitting on the bench, playing on someone's rest day.
Not only a young guy, but a young guy who's very, very good.
A good young player sitting on the bench. I mean, possibly two. You have Encarnacion Strand, Jake Fraley, Will Benson, who was really good for them last year. Spencer Steer we talked about, Matt McClain, TJ Friedel. This team is just full of young guys, and there's only 9 spots in the lineup. Someone is bound to not be playing every single day, and no matter who it is, it's a shame. So they're in a
good position.
They're in a good spot, but a tough one of just having too many good young players. So how you go about that is now what has to be decided.
So then can I ask you, what would your infield look like if you were managing the Cincinnati Reds? What would your infield look like? And who would be on the bench?
Managing the Reds?
Yeah. Infield, DH, and then who's on your bench?
Well, I would say you have to start Spencer Steer.
Okay. At first.
No. If you're keeping see, because you're telling me that they're keeping everyone. So if they're keeping everyone, there's no reason to not have Spencer Steer sitting in the outfield. There is absolutely no reason. So in that case, yes, I would have Yennier Candelario at first base.
Okay.
If Spencer Steer can play the outfield and has to, because you don't get rid of anyone,
right?
Spencer Steer needs to play the Yennier Candelario will be playing first base.
Okay.
I would definitely have Ellie at shortstop because he's Ellie.
Right.
And then this is where it really gets tough. You have to have Matt McClain at second since Ellie is at short.
You do.
Third base.
Who do you have there?
See, Novelli Marte is younger than Jonathan India. So you would have to put. You can't be DHing the 22-year-old third baseman in Novelli Marte.
With so much utility.
I would honestly have Christian Encarnacion Strand play third base.
Okay.
Novelli Marte maybe either go to the bench or back to AAA it is. And then Jonathan...
Does he even have an option?
Jonathan India would be my DH. Yeah, Novelli Marte, they just brought him up. He's played like...
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking... I don't know why in my head you said Novelli Marte, and I was like, Jonathan India.
Oh, no, I did... No. Jonathan India, by the way, has all 3 options, but they're not sending him down to true. Like,
no, that's one of those. He doesn't have any options left.
Right. Well, he does, but they're not.
They're not going to.
No, Novelli Marte. So, again, just to recap, I'd have Yennier Candelario at first, Matt McClain at second, Ellie at short, Encarnacion Strand at third. India would have to DH, and Spencer Steer would be in the outfield.
Okay. So you have Novelli Marte as the odd man out. I have Jonathan India as the odd man out. So the Reds have a good problem, but I want to know how they're going to fix it. There
is always the option of, love him or hate him, Ellie De La Cruz did hit 235 last season.
Oh, yeah, he fell off a cliff.
If you get to the halfway mark in the season and he's still hitting like 235, 220,
then you got to send him down. There's no choice.
Yeah, you can't just give him unlimited options because
he's big
of his first 5 games in the major leagues.
Yeah.
So there is always that option of maybe Ellie De La Cruz is going to wind up being the odd man out, just because he isn't backing up his play enough. again, that's something we won't know. I think they won't make that decision till the middle of the season
Well,
around.
just to point out, Ellie De La Cruz's big issue with the major leagues last year was his swing and miss and just not really paying attention to the strike zone, sort of being up there and like,
that's a
I'm
lot
this
of players'
big tall
problems.
guy, I'm just going to keep swinging the bat. If he can control himself and take his walks, we've seen him steal first, second, third, and home in like 2 at bats. He's a freak of nature. So take the walks, settle for singles sometimes, and then you're talking about a really, really good ball player at short, and then you run into the issue again of what do you do with your infield depth.
Right. There's a lot of things that need to be figured out, and I think a trade would be a pretty big solve to that problem.
Yeah, it's a trade, or if in spring
But then you lose
training-
depth. So
Yeah, in spring training, if Ellie De La Cruz looks like he just needs more time in the minor leagues, they don't even bother calling him up at all until he's completely ready, and you just option him to AAA before the season starts, and you have no problems. That's another way to look at it.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. I just that's not going to happen. Ellie De La Cruz will be starting for them on opening day.
Yeah, cannot wait to see the MLB's post of Ellie De La Cruz running out of the dugout.
I can almost guarantee it. So
Yeah, sure.
we'll see what happens there. And then finally, kind of the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just to give a little update on Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, we talked about him multiple times in this episode already. He is the marquee free agent of baseball, possibly the biggest free agent in baseball history. Maybe definitely the biggest free agent in baseball history.
I would ride with that.
Right now, it seems like, as of the last report, which is tough to gauge because so many reports have been wrong because of how secretive Shohei Ohtani has been keeping this free agency. But the last the last report from a big reporter was that he will have his decision by the end of this weekend. Again, don't really know if that's true or not. I want to kind of talk about, well, another thing is now it's looking like he will be getting that massive contract. It won't be a 2-year deal. It's looking like he could make an upwards of $600 million with this contract. Insane to think about. But the big question that I want to pose is it good for baseball that Shohei Ohtani is keeping his free agency this secretive? I know not
you want
talking,
the obvious answer?
Not talking about how it is for him as a player personally. Just talking about for the sport of baseball, Shohei Ohtani keeping his free agency secretive. Is it good for baseball?
I'm going to say no. However, I'm not saying no. Instead, there should be a TMZ reality show.
Well, no.
It shouldn't be like that.
No, it's more. It's more of just saying like it's not normal. Like when Aaron Judge was a free agent, we knew when he was.
We got videos of him in the airport.
Right. It's like we knew. You know what a normal free agency is like. This we know absolutely nothing.
I just hope that this is not setting a precedent. And Shohei is a very closed off guy to begin with. So, I get it for him. I just hope that not every big name free agent is not going in now and saying, hey, I want to have closed off talks. I think that it's also a good thing because we will avoid seeing like a public bidding war, which is when, you can say, Ohtani's agent used the power of the people to get more money because he leaked what contract he was supposed to get from this team, and now this team countered with more, blah, 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 blah. There's a world where that happens, and we see it from time to time. If that's why Ohtani wanted to keep it private, sure, that's fine. Find your best fit and go with that. Just stinks that the biggest name in free agent history, the biggest name in baseball history, in my opinion, is just not even being slightly public about it. He's not meeting with the media personally. There's been no sightings of him. There's been no rumors about him, and those very few rumors are ones that we already knew. Dave Roberts sat there at the winter meetings and was like, hey, yeah, we met with Shohei Ohtani. This is what we talked about. This was really cool. And then he got told to shut the hell up by upper management. It's like, for a year, over a year, they were planning to talk to Shohei Ohtani to try to figure out how to sign him.
And everyone knew they talked to him.
You have to be living under a rock if you think that they have not talked to him. Like, Dave Roberts was just stating the obvious, and I'm very much on the side of Dave Roberts was in the right to just say something, let alone anything, which, if you're the Dodgers upper management, like, fuck off, honestly.
Damn.
I also liked the leak of he went to the Blue Jays Florida complex, Florida spring training complex.
That was kind of big.
Liked that because that was just fun, and the thought of Ohtani joining a team that's not the Dodgers was entertaining. However, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. I still think he's a Dodger, no matter what happens.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think it's kind of inevitable at this point. So
it's just a matter of how much money.
We know the Dodgers have the money to throw at him.
They waited
and all the other
year.
teams that don't have the money to all the other teams rather that do have the money to throw at him are out of the sweepstakes for the most part. I mean, the Mets are not in the sweepstakes anymore. The Yankees are not in the sweepstakes anymore. The Red Sox are not in it anymore. So all those teams,
the
that
Mariners
we know
shed
have
payroll, but they only want to spend $20 million.
But they're also not. They're also not. They don't have Dodger money. They don't have Yankee money. They don't have Met money. So I don't think that's in. That's another reason that's not even in the question.
It's bizarre. I think that Shohei should have, at least if you wanted to make it private, say like, hey, and at the end of it, I'm going to do what LeBron did and have like a whole segment about my decision and talk about why I kept it private and why I wanted to sign with the team that I wanted to sign with, and answer any questions like live on air from reporters from MLB Network to beat reporters. Like that's how I think he should have done it if he wanted to keep the rest of this private, so that way at least people would not be poking their nose where it doesn't belong right now and trying to get any inkling of information to, let's just be real, get clicks on their articles for whatever news source they're writing for, because that's what Ohtani's name does. That's why we're talking about him. It gets clicks.
Yeah.
Shout out Ohtani, man. If you're watching,
shout out to Shohei Ohtani. If you're watching, I would love a cut of that big contract that you're about to get.
Can I pet your dog? Your dog looks adorable.
Asking the important questions. But again, as soon as we find out Ohtani news, we will be back.
For sure.
And if not, we'll be back before then to talk about whatever the hell else happened. Again, Juan Soto's a Yankee. That was a pretty big thing.
Pretty cool.
And we will see you guys in the next one. Make sure if you liked, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe or follow if you're listening on podcasts. We will see you guys in the next one. A peace.